Hey guys, before we start this episode, I wanted to talk to you about Type 1 lifting. So, Type 1 lifting is a clothing line that proceeds of the shirts and tanks and everything else goes to the Children's Diabetes Foundation. This all came about with me and seeing a 5-year-old girl in the emergency department that had new onset of diabetes. Just take a look at the website. It's www.type1lifting.com. So just check it out. If you don't buy anything, that's perfectly fine. I would just like for you just to take a look and just see what we have. So, like I said before, www.type1lifting.com. And guys, I hope you enjoy the show. We're gonna start. So, all right, ready? All right, guys,
Yep.
welcome to another episode of the Type 1 Lifting Podcast. I have the new Partnership Manager at CrossFit and fellow diabetic, Ari Hurst. How's it going?
Good. Thank you for having me. How's it going?
Good. I'm really excited to get to interview you because I've wanted to talk. I've actually sent a message out to you a while back, and then finally we connected on LinkedIn. I was waiting for that for quite a while.
Yes. No, it's always just so good to speak to another fellow type 1 diabetic. We just get it.
Yeah. I always ask the people I interview that are diabetics, like, so when did you get diagnosed with diabetes?
I was diagnosed when I was 8, going on 9. So this month is actually my diversary of 21 years.
Wow.
So it's been quite some time.
Wow, very cool. So, like, well, not very cool, but so what happened during your diagnosis?
Yeah, I mean, I was having like the typical symptoms. I went off to summer camp. I came back, was super lethargic. I was losing quite a bit of weight, um, drinking tons of water nonstop. And my parents just kind of knew something was up, but didn't want to accept it, but took me in. And my blood sugar, I think, was probably 500 or 600.
Jeez.
So definitely was like right away, I started insulin, taking all the shots, the finger pricks. I just jumped right in.
Wow. Yeah. So when I got diagnosed, it was my pre-employment screening to the hospital, and so like when I got diagnosed there, oh, technically I didn't get diagnosed because it wasn't a doctor, it was a nurse. But I did a 12-hour fast, and I emailed her the number, and she's like, "Yeah, really need to go to an endocrinologist." And my wife was like, "Do you really have to go now?" Because we didn't have insurance at the time,
Oh no.
and I'm like, "Yeah, I kind of have to go because like I could die or have a go to a
Oh.
coma or have a stroke or something." And so luckily they let me like wait till I got my insurance, and then they billed me. So. Yeah. But what were anybody in your family got diagnosed with diabetes at all, or?
My mom's father has type 2 diabetes, so he's had it for quite some time, but as of now, they don't really see a huge connection there. But I've seen a couple of people who have like siblings who are also type 1, so it's just so random how it all works out. But no one in my family has type 1.
Okay. So what were your parents thinking when you got diagnosed?
Oh, they were completely freaking out. I mean, back then, it was so much harder to manage. I mean, they didn't even have human insulin. They were still using cow insulin. I mean, I was carrying around vials of insulin. And anytime I traveled, I would wrap them in bubble wrap because if you don't want to drop them on a trip, because then you were just screwed for the rest of your vacation. And so just seeing the technology and how it's evolved over the years has been absolutely amazing. I don't know about you, but I wear a Dexcom to monitor my blood sugars, which make things so much easier rather than pricking my finger all the time. I still do insulin shots, but we've upgraded to a quick pen, kind of looks like an EpiPen. But there's just so many other resources out there. Like there's apps nowadays. I remember carrying around like a physical calculator to calculate how much insulin, how many carbs I was eating. I had a log book to like do long division with all of these equations. So people who had it back in the day like really understand. I mean, we also had, or we have now, my fitness pal, but I use this book called Calorie King to look up all of like my macros essentially.
Oh, really? Okay.
So it's just, it's amazing to see the progress along the years.
Yeah. So I had a Dexicom for a while, but I for like 3 months, and then I kind of stopped because the insurance was like it was too
Mm.
expensive. So, um, where do you like? I know you probably work out. So like, where do you put your Dexicom?
I kind of rotate. I think currently it's only FDA approved to wear it on your stomach, and that's honestly where I keep it most. But right now I have it on my arm. So I kind of just trade off and rotate back and forth.
Yeah. I tried it on my belly, and like it didn't work out because of my weight belt. And so I
Mm.
there's a girl I kind of name it as her because she started it. So she put it right on like the top part of her glute muscle, and
Mhm.
it's still red. It's like her name's Kelly Wild, and so she started it, and I was doing it, and I was like, oh, okay. Like I didn't never nicked anything, never worried about like it falling off, and it was like awesome. Even I didn't even notice when I was sitting down either.
Oh, yeah. So interesting.
Yeah, and it worked perfectly too. So no issues whatsoever. But I would like to get back on it, but I just got to worry about like insurance and stuff like that because
No,
I know.
the prices are crazy, especially with insulin right now.
Yeah, I know, and I've actually saw a YouTube no, was it TikTok video of a mom like crying hysterically because their kid had diabetes and she had to pay $1,000 for like a 1 month supply and she couldn't
I
afford it.
know it. Of
So
course. Yeah. It's horrible.
yeah, so obviously you've been doing this for quite a while. So have you changed your insulin once in a while, or like have you gone from like one insulin to a next because it wasn't working? Like how did it go about?
The thing about diabetes is you're constantly learning. Like I feel like I learn something new every day, every month. And I've tried a couple of different products. I was on Humalog, I believe, for my fast acting insulin, and then switched to Fiasp, which seems to work a little bit quicker for me, but every to each his own. So that's what I'm on now, along with the long acting insulin. But over time, your body just changes, and so you require different ratios and always tweaking things, and you become more resistant at times versus not. So it's always interesting. Keeps
Yeah,
me on my toes.
always a number games, 24/7, 365. So
Right.
yeah, so when obviously like through high school, you went to college. So what was how hard was it for you going through like high school and college with diabetes?
Yeah, I think I don't really know if there was a big change from high school to college. It was just really just different activities. I was doing different things, or which can play an effect. The time of day that you work out, the time of day that you eat, the time that you sleep, how much you sleep, everything plays a factor. I think I read an article the other day that was saying people with diabetes make an extra 182 decisions a day. So, it's like, oh wait, should I work out now, or should I give my insulin now? Should I eat now and then give my insulin, or should I give my insulin before? So, it's always a very humbling experience.
Yeah. So what if you don't mind me asking, what was your A1C level lately?
Lately, so I just went in and to the endocrinologist. I hadn't been in since before the pandemic. It was 7.0, so it's a little bit higher than how I like it. The last three times before that, it was around 6.5 or 6.7. So I like to keep it in the sixes. I know that's may not be as good as some other people's, but I'm trying my best. So constantly trying to tweak things and rein it in.
Yeah, yeah. So while you're in college, with the diabetes and stuff like that, obviously like partying and all that kind of stuff kind of takes an effect. So like how did you manage that, and especially with like studying, because I believe you went to college for a marketing degree, correct?
I did, yeah. I went to University of Houston,
Yeah.
so
So how was that throughout like college and stuff?
I guess it was just kind of like try and see if you fail and do it differently in a different way. So trial by error.
Yeah. And so when you got out of University of Houston, you actually worked at the Tough Mudder for a little while. So
Yeah.
what was it like the marketing side of Tough Mudder a little bit different than like a normal like like your normal office like marketing team at all, or what was your day to day for that?
Yeah, I my path to Tough Mudder was actually really unique. I had started CrossFit in college and really enjoyed that. And prior to that, I was a college cheerleader. So CrossFit was so different than what I had experienced in cheer. But I think in terms of like the workout regimen, but what kept me coming back was the camaraderie in the community. They were very similar. And so I found a lot of that camaraderie and community in Tough Mudder, and the same people that, participated in those OCR races for people very like-minded in terms of CrossFit. But yeah, it was a very, very fun company to work for. Lots of mud, participated in quite a few Tough Mudders during my time there. And it was just a young, fun company. It was still kind of in the startup mode when I was working with them. And it was such a great experience. Got to travel around quite a bit to these different events. And I was focused on the corporate team. So we'd have, big companies coming to us looking for this ultimate team building experience. And so once we brought them on, they would come over to me and I would kind of service that relationship.
Very cool. So you just said you did CrossFit in college. So what was the reason why you got involved with CrossFit, and what made you stick?
So I found CrossFit, like I said, in college. I was a junior. My roommate at the time had just joined a gym, and naturally she was talking about it all the time. And, initially I didn't have any interest because I was so focused on cheer. And she was like, no, I really think that you'd like this. Come take a class. And there was a gym that opened up right across the street from the university that I was going to. And so decided to take a class. And like I said, I just loved the sense of, teamwork and community there. And it just gave me this whole different perception of strength that I had never had before. And I was really inspired, and the rest was kind of history. I haven't really done anything else since then.
Very cool. So did you ever have thoughts of maybe I can take this take this serious? I mean, obviously you're taking it serious, but take it to maybe being a pro at all? Or did you have any of those ambitions?
Back in the day when the sport was still very young, I maybe thought, hey, I have a knack for this. But then, more people started joining the sport and it really just took off. And I was like, I do not have a chance. But I'm going to keep on showing up and putting in my effort.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. So what has been the toughest, movement for you that you've kind of almost feel like you've mastered a little bit?
The toughest movement?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I love the things that I love anything with a barbell. I love some gymnastics movements with my background. I definitely struggle with the snatch 100%. And I don't think I've mastered it, but I tried.
Yeah, I love, that's my all-time favorite lift. That and thrusters for some reason, because I'm 6'6", and I don't know why thrusters are my jam, but I can kill it on thrusters. And then snatching, it's just it's for me, it's a pretty cool scene, a big guy lift and get something over their head, and that long movement just to get overhead. So that's I don't know, I've just been hooked on those.
Good for you.
Yeah. So you did Tough Mudder for about a year and a half, I believe, and then you made a career change and went with Reebok. So what was your decision to actually work with a major shoe company and moving up to Boston also?
Yeah, it was kind of just luck, honestly. I was looking to get out of New York City. I had moved back to Houston at the time, which is where I grew up, and, had saw this position at Reebok that I decided to kind of put my name in the hat, and everything kind of worked out from there. I had a connection with Reebok through the early days of CrossFit and had worn their products and fallen in love with them. And, I didn't think I'd be lucky enough to join the team, but one thing led to another. And I started as a marketing rep in Houston. And then my team had kind of known that I had this crazy passion for CrossFit. And there was an opportunity that came available when regionals became sanctionals, and they really needed someone to kind of be the key point person communicating with these local event organizers that we were sponsoring. And so they said, hey, we think you'd be a great fit for this. Do you want to move up to Boston? And I said, absolutely. So moved there, and my role had evolved multiple times since then. I had moved to Boston in 2018, and it had evolved to working on the nano marketing plans to managing athletes to working with NC Fit and Mayhem. It was such a great opportunity, and I can't say enough good things about that.
Yeah, very cool. So, I used to live about 10 minutes away from the Reebok facility. So I used to
Oh,
live, yeah, I
wow.
used to live in Sharon. So,
Okay.
so I've never been in the building. So can you describe like to the people that have never even seen like what the building looks like and what the interior looks like as well?
So were you close to the Canton office or the Boston
Canton
office?
office.
Okay, so I was never in the Canton
Oh,
office.
okay. All right.
They had relocated to the Boston office in Seaport a couple years ago to attract, a different type of clientele. And but that office was equally amazing. I mean, just the gym and the retail store and the multiple floors of offices. It was a very open workspace. So we were able to collaborate, with each other. There was no like assigned seatings or no desks and everything. It was so unique and amazing.
Very cool. So you said you worked with NC Fit and Mayhem. So what was your first experience with Rich Froning and his like Mayhem Empire? Like were you like just like floored of like what he's done for his whole career and actually building his brand?
Well, Rich definitely, built his brand and his team, and they've done a fantastic job. My first experience was actually working the Mayhem Classic, and that was one of the events that we got to work on and building on activation there. And I remember building our booth, and we weren't selling any product on site, but we had to. I was tasked with coming up with a Cookville inspired activation. So we did this cornhole and coffee activation, which was very fitting.
Yep.
It was great. People could win an entire home gym by winning a cornhole bracket.
Oh, cool.
But I had many opportunities to work with the Mayhem team along the way on multiple Froning shoe drops and creating content around that, working with Haley on multiple activations as well. So they're a great group of people.
Very cool. And then NC Fit, obviously Jason Khalipa, he's built another empire too. So,
Uh,
you know, obviously you've been relatively new to the kind of the CrossFit space, so you've seen it kind of in the middle, and now till like right now it's like blowing up. So, how did you help him with his campaigns and stuff?
Yeah, so we worked on a few different projects together. One that kind of stands out is we did this, he launched his partner program. And so we, created these custom seating boxes for the first inaugural members of the partner program. So that was definitely a great touch point and very unique, but again, another great community to work with.
Very cool, very cool. So now you've been to the games a couple times with Reebok as well. So what has your been like experience with the games?
Yeah, well, we've had this absence of in-person events. And so I just got back from the games a couple of weeks ago, and it's been amazing. I mean, it was so good to be back this year with the games. It was my first time meeting my new team in person, and they're absolutely amazing. This is the first time that CrossFit has a dedicated team for partnerships, and so it was really, motivating to meet everyone in person and see the work that we're going to be doing. And it was just great to watch all the events and the athletes come together. So it was awesome.
Very cool. So when did you decide to, and leave Reebok and move to working for CrossFit LLC?
Yeah, it was just something that again, I had this amazing experience at Reebok, and I was looking for, a change of scenery and just a new opportunity. And I saw this and just kind of randomly put my name in, and one thing kind of led to another. And, CrossFit has been my passion for more than a decade at this point, and I wanted to continue working on the sport and helping it grow. And I really just thought this was a perfect fit, and it has been.
Yeah,
So
very cool. And so what has been like the interview process for you just to make it to work at CrossFit?
yeah, I mean, it was pretty extensive of an interview process. I met with multiple stakeholders and, just talked through about my experience and, my thoughts on what I can bring to the table and the future of the sport. So it was very extensive and challenging.
Very cool. So you obviously said you went to this year's games as working for CrossFit, and obviously you were there the whole time. What were your favorite experiences through the games this year?
Yeah, I loved watching the athletes compete, even though I didn't get to see all of the events, was busy running around, but it was really just seeing like the community come back together. It was so great to see the Coliseum sold out. Great to see just jam-packed fans and hope for the future seasons.
Very cool, very cool. And I know the contract in Wisconsin's up. I know you probably, I don't know if you can say anything, but have they thought about like moving it to a different location or re-upping the thing to Wisconsin?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I don't know if that's in my realm.
Okay, all good. So, what's your typical day to day at CrossFit now since the games are over?
Yeah, so I am only less than 2 months into the role, so still kind of like learning a lay of the land. But right now we're taking all the learnings that we had from the games this year, and outlining a process for 2022, and just continuing to make sure that these partnerships prosper.
Very cool, very cool. So, obviously, like since you're relatively new, what is your expectations for doing the partnership with CrossFit?
Yeah, I think it's to grow the ones that we have. I think it's to bring in new partners, and see how we can expand the sport, and also finding authentic partners to the sport as well.
And how do you find authentic partners?
I think it's ones that like align with our brand values and mission. Health, happiness, and performance.
Yeah, because obviously, there's a lot of companies that want to like kind of get their paws, into CrossFit, and it's maybe, not the right fit for you guys. So, do you guys do an extensive interview for each brand to kind of see if like, hey, this might work, or hey, this might not work?
I don't know if like interview per se, but I think we definitely want to make sure that like their goals align with ours. So a few phone conversations and exploratory ones, and then we kind of dive right in.
Very cool, very cool. And so, since you've been doing CrossFit, what has been your favorite place to go to actually like work out, or like because you've probably been to like all these crazy countries and like worked out or be part of like Reebok and CrossFit. So like what has been your favorite one, and like can you just talk a little bit about the experience?
Oh, that's tough. And this last year and a half, I've actually been just like calling nowhere home. I've been living all over the place. I'm finally going to be settling down in Denver next week. So I'm very excited about that I'll have like to drop into all these new gyms and find a new home. But yeah, I don't know. And for such a long time, I was working out at the Reebok headquarters, but it's hard to say. My home gym in Houston is CrossFit Edo, so I love their space, and seeing how they, grew from, such a small gym to now this like, huge empire. Worked out at Mayhem, which was great. But there's so many great gyms out there. But the thing that remains the same is just like the people. Like every gym that I drop into, like I meet someone awesome.
Yeah, very cool. And then since you were at Reebok One, was Austin Maliola your coach at
Yes.
all, or like what was he like when as a coach, and obviously he's doing the hand plan for like the CrossFit affiliate. So, how was that like it works in the process pretty much?
Yes, he was a coach, and he's fantastic. I think like we were so lucky at Reebok with the coaches that we had. They're so knowledgeable. We have people that were on the seminar staff, flow masters. So you really have like the top notch people giving you instruction that really know what you're talking about and going to help you like continue excelling in the sport.
Yeah, and obviously the hand plan he has, it's like all through the affiliates. So were you doing the hand plan at Reebok One, and are you still doing it?
Yes, we were doing it at Reebok One. So right now I'm just kind of trying anything and anything, just trying to work out and have a good sweat.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know about the restrictions in Colorado and Denver, but what do they have restrictions now at all?
Good question. I'm not exactly sure. I think gyms are still open. At least I hope so, because I love working out with people. Like I do not do well working out alone. I do. But
It's very hard. Very hard. I do it.
I don't push myself as much when I'm like rather than in a class.
Yeah. I mean, I have to look at the leaderboard on the programming because like I do it all by myself because that's the only time I can't because I can't do it
Hmm.
with anybody else because I wake up so early in the morning. They're like, nah, I'm good. So it's just like I gotta look at the leaderboard from like everyone from like Europe that's doing the program and seeing like, okay, they got this time. Okay, let me beat this time. That's the only way I can kind of do the workouts.
I totally feel you.
Yeah, especially getting up at like 4:20 in the morning just to get there at
Oh,
5. So
4:20. I am not. I'm not a morning person in general, but definitely not a morning exerciser. That is for sure.
yeah, well, I mean, I have 2 kids, so I really have no choice. So it's like literally I work my 9 to 5 and then go home, and then it's just like my wife's like, okay, here you go, here are the 2 kids, and then like make dinner, and so there's no way. If I actually worked out in the afternoon after work, like I would never see my kids
Yeah.
or my
Oh,
wife. So
right. Right.
yeah,
Wow.
it's crazy. So are you more of like a mid afternoon or like afternoon?
Oh yeah. The later the better for me. I don't know what it is. I think I'm not awake until I've had my iced coffee and, a couple cups of that. And then I just like to like finish out my workday and be done with that and then like do the workout. And yeah, definitely always a 5, 6, 7
Yeah,
PMer.
I can't do that. There's no way. There's no way. I mean, I would love to, but that's not going to happen. I get so tired when I get back home from work. It's like forget it.
Totally.
Yeah. So very cool. So have you met Eric Rosa yet at all, or?
I have. I did at the games.
Oh, very
Yes.
cool. So what was he like? Like obviously he's like running around all over the place and talking to people, but like did you have like a little bit of a conversation with him at all?
We did. He was super busy, but just so kind and so, great conversation and just really like where, the sport is going with his direction.
Very cool. I was a big fan of how it went this year for the games and
Mm.
what like the sanctions and obviously Noble taking over and stuff, and I feel like that it's relatively new, so they're kind of testing stuff out, especially during a COVID year. So I
Yeah.
think once they get everything honed in, I think CrossFit's going to absolutely blow up even more than it was when it first started.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah, very cool. So um, when when do you typically like look for a gym? Like how long does it take you to find that like gym that's like your gym?
I don't know. I was living in San Diego all of this year
Oh, cool.
because of the pandemic, and I was like, why not be in San Diego? And I went to a couple of different gyms, and I don't know. I feel like you just like know, right? You know when something just clicks. I dropped in to probably like 2 or 3 gyms, and then landed on one. Um, it's just a feeling. It's just a feeling that I get.
Yeah, yeah. So I always get this question all the time. I don't know if you do, but do you ever get like people talking to you say like, "Oh, I'm a type 1 diabetic," and they're like, "Wait a second, but you're fit, so like, why do you have diabetes?" So do you ever get that? Like, you ever get that saying like, you're not overweight, so why do you have diabetes?
Yes, I feel like there's still, I don't know if stigma is the right word, but misunderstanding that, there's more than one type of diabetes. So people are definitely still confused. And I think education is still such an important piece of diabetes. But yeah, like I'll be in a CrossFit gym and they'll be like, what's that on your arm? Or what is that? And then we'll kind of like, go into talking about it. And I think just like shedding light that no, like I got this when I was young, like, no amount of sugar caused this. But yes, definitely still get the question.
Yeah. Do you think I know CrossFit typically goes towards like the type 2 diabetes. Do you think they would kind of give like a better education of, what the difference between both of them are? So at least let like the affiliates know, or like, the people that do CrossFit like understand like, hey, this is not because of diet. This is because your pancreas just quit on you. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think, as the sport has grown, I think more stories, have been coming out. Now we have some athletes competing in the sport of CrossFit who have type 1 diabetes. So I think just little tidbits of information like that bring more awareness to the cause.
yeah, and it's really cool seeing like diabetics getting into the games and stuff. So because like
Yes.
there's not many I there's only like 2 people I know that are type 1 diabetics that have been to the CrossFit games. And so one was a teenager and one was part of the teams for like 3 years, like a while back. This is when they did like team of 6. But also it's really cool to see adaptive athletes too, working at the like going to the games as well. So I mean, obviously, CrossFit's done some amazing things, like displaying that people with these disabilities can still do amazing things.
Absolutely. Yes. No, I love how we're expanding the divisions.
Yeah. So are they looking to do like more like sanctional events for the adaptive athletes at all, or?
I'm honestly not sure, but it'd be worth noting. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think that'd be great to give them like almost like Wadapalooza, kind of like have them do like a sanction and just have their own thing and make it to the games that way instead of doing an online qualifier.
Yeah. Yeah. Not a bad idea.
Yeah, I know. Just a thought. Maybe you can talk to Eric. Who knows? So very cool. So we're getting close to the end, but what do you were you guys already in plans of next year's games already? So what's the process for that?
Yeah, not quite. We did take a little bit of downtime after the game, so still a little bit of like recovering from that. And then we're kind of just trying to like dive right in. We're trying to have like longer lead times of planning, renew any partnerships that need to be renewed. And then we have the season starts back over again and the training starts, and it really, there's not a whole lot of downtime, which I like staying busy.
Yeah. So do you guys have any big plans for the Open at all?
Our season announcement will be coming out soon, so that'll be stay tuned. But as of now, I think we're still in the planning process.
Okay, cool. So how obviously you're relatively new, but how long does that typically take for that process to be like the final product?
Yeah, several months, definitely.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. Because I'm always interested of like, even with Dave Cassler doing the programming, like how he goes from like one idea to the next, and especially like how CrossFit, goes from like, okay, here's the Open, this is what we're gonna do, and then sanctionals, this is what we're gonna do, and then kind of have a contingent plan for the games. It just if anything happens, we could just push it back.
Yeah,
So it's always
yeah.
cool, kind of seeing that whole big process going on from start to finish.
I know, it's crazy.
And you're in it too, which is even cooler. So very cool. So a couple of quick questions. So let's just say you stopped everything. You're not a partnership manager. You don't do CrossFit. How do you want people to know you as?
Ooh, that's a deep question. I don't know. I guess it's a tough question. What would you say?
For me,
Yeah.
I just want to let people know that I was pretty much a good person and showing people that, even though having this crappy disease, you can still do amazing
Mhm.
things. And,
Yeah.
and hopefully, type 1 lifting, my brand can go past me. But, obviously it's still new. So, but I just want to let people know, like, I try to be the best person I can be, best dad, best husband, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think going off that point, like you shouldn't let anything hold you back. If you have a goal set in mind, like go after it. Like nothing has to stop you.
Yeah, it was just pretty much how I started this podcast. Like I was supposed to be like two other people with me, and we just had scheduling issues. And I was like, you know what, forget it. Like let me just do it myself. Just screw. I read a book called by Richard Branson called "Screw It, Just Do It," and so that's my motto. I'm like, you know what, screw it, just do it. So that's how I
Yes.
started all this. Even the T-shirt company, I was like really hesitant of like pushing it out, and I'm like, all right, I've done all the designs. I gave it to the guy to do the shirts, and I'm like, should I do it right now? Should I do it right now? Let me wait next week. And then I'm like, my wife's like, just go, just forget it, just do it. And I was like, yeah, you're right, do it. And then like, I just kept on going. Yeah,
Yes.
very cool. So, do you have any goals for like the rest of the year through like CrossFit or, personal or even professional?
Yeah, I think personally, I do want to tighten up the control with my diabetes. That's been something that I've been trying to work on. It's like always a constant goal. like, okay, we have to be better about that. So really trying to get my A1C back under 7.0 is one goal. In terms of CrossFit, it's finding a home gym in Denver. So really excited about that and getting in the gym more than I am right now. And then I think professionally, it's just, diving in and learning this role as best I can and, making a difference at CrossFit.
Very cool. Very cool. So, do you have any like PRs you want to hit at all for this year?
Oh man. Well, it's been a while since I've reached some of my PRs. I feel like I peaked back in 2016, which is okay as long as I keep showing up at the gym. But I would love to hit a 300-pound deadlift.
Ooh, okay. You could definitely do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would like to do that.
So a little trick I've learned from this strength and conditioning coach, Cal Dietz. Dude's amazing. If you curl your big toe when you lift the barbell
Okay.
up, it fires your glutes and hamstrings, so you shoot up a lot quicker on the deadlift.
Ooh, all right, I'll give it a try.
So if you go barefoot or wear shoes or whatever, just like literally dig your toe in as hard as possible, the big toe, and then you'll see. I swear, I tried it. Like you could do that with your back squats too, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like this is like I shot up so quick on a front squat or a back squat, and I was like, this is why didn't I learn about this in the first place?
Yeah,
So
I'm gonna report back.
yeah, and if you try it barefoot, it works even better supposedly. But I don't know. I usually wear shoes, so
Love it.
yeah. So what was your obviously working for Reebok? What was your favorite nanos?
Mm. I really like the nines.
Okay,
I really like the nines, but I did wear Noble at the games. I really enjoyed them. I got a couple different pair, wore their runners a lot. So it was exciting trying new gear and feeling new materials and new products and tried them in a couple of different workouts lately.
yeah. My thing with Noble, I've never worn their shoes. I think their shoes look pretty boring. Personally, for me, like I'm a Nike guy, so like the Metcons, but it's just like it's just like no detail to it. It's just like a flat canvas, obviously with some detailing with like painting and stuff, but that's
Yeah,
it. So, but are they pretty comfortable?
I thought so. Yeah.
Okay,
There was like this super fabric with the trainers that I was wearing. And yeah, I think everything looks super clean and super sharp. So it was it was fun to try on new stuff.
yeah. So with the Noble ones, do they have like CrossFit games on underneath the bottom of the soles, or like what were the shoes that you got?
On some of their products, they do have CrossFit on the soles that say CrossFit on
Oh,
them.
very cool.
So yeah, it's
Awesome.
awesome.
So, do you have a favorite book that you like to read at all, or give it out to like a present at all?
Ooh, favorite book. Um, I don't know. Not off the top of
It could be fiction or nonfiction. It doesn't matter.
I was a big Harry Potter fan. I will
Okay,
I will say that.
I'm too old for that genre. So yeah, I was so Harry Potter.
I mean, yeah, I feel like I've read several books since then, but not one is coming off the top of my head.
Okay, all good, all good. So what's in your gym bag?
What's in my gym bag? Oh, always a weightlifting belt. Pair of shoes, jump rope, water bottle, um, glucose tabs, insulin, some unique things.
Yeah. So what are some of the tricks that you do to raise your blood sugar up, like other than glucose tabs?
Mm. I feel like my go-to is like always orange juice. I feel like I just feel like OJ spikes it up the most. It probably spikes it up too high sometimes, which is always fun. Then shoots up way too high, and then you're trying to chase it to get it back down. Um, those are probably my tricks.
Yeah. So I've told some other people this. I don't know if you heard it, but I have a tube of frosting in my truck.
I am a big frosting person, but that's probably why I don't buy it because I would be very not that would be bad. I would just eat way too much of it.
Yeah, I mean, I just keep it in my truck. So if I get low, I'll just like cram it in there. I don't bring it inside the house. I don't do any. It just like stays in my truck. It doesn't go any further than that. So
That's amazing.
yeah, because there's been times I've been like driving and I just feel like I'm hitting a low, and I was like, oh crap. So I literally have to go grab it and just like slam some frosting in me, and like I don't really get too full off of it, so which is a good thing.
I know. I've been having a roller coaster of blood sugars all day today. So you win some and you lose some, but that's just life with diabetes.
Yeah. Do you get stressed out if you get those kind of numbers?
Yeah, it's always just, when it shoots up really, I was overcorrecting a low, obviously, and overcorrected way too much. And then it spiked up way too high and then taking insulin. So it's can be brutal sometimes.
Yeah. I tried the Libre, freestyle Libre for a little while, and I didn't know there was like a 15-minute delay
Oh,
on the
oh
blood
no.
sugars. So like it'd be like literally 10 minutes I'd scan my arm and I'm like, God, like this
What's
sucks. Like I
happening?
take more insulin. Then like when I get to work it's just like, oh, I gotta eat something.
Tanking.
Yeah, and
Yep.
it's just like, and then like finally like someone told me because my endocrinologist didn't help me out. They're like, there's a 15-minute delay on all like
Right.
in the CGMs, and I was like, what?
Would have been good to know 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, and like, and there was sometimes there was like 120 point difference
Oh, wow.
for my Libre and like pricking my fingers. So I'm like, okay, I'll just prick my finger for the rest of my life. So I'll just do that. I mean, it works.
It
So
works. Yeah.
yeah. So what the last couple of questions. So what would you tell somebody that's trying to get into marketing or even trying to get to work with CrossFit, like what to expect throughout the whole process?
Yeah. Like back when I like first started my career, I was really just trying to like pinpoint like what my passions were. And I think like that would be my advice for anyone is like follow your passions. Like for me, I really enjoyed fitness and this new community of CrossFit that I found. And then I've always been a really creative person. And I really loved marketing. And so I was like, how do I merge the two? And I never settled. Like I was very focused on finding a job that did exactly that. And so my advice to someone who's wants to get into a similar realm is just pinpoint what your passion is, network with as many people as possible. I can't tell you how many phone conversations, coffee conversations that I've had of just like meeting with people. I think like, big companies can be intimidating because you're like, I don't know what this job does exactly. And so understanding what those functions do, because I think like if you love what you do, you're going to be good at what you do, right? So I think it's just, network with people, understand what your passions are, and then go after it.
Very cool, very cool. So is marketing a tough career to get into when you first start out?
Um, yeah, I mean, I guess maybe not as much as other fields, but I think it definitely takes a creative minded person for sure.
Okay, very cool. So where can people reach out to you if they have any questions with, maybe trying to get into CrossFit, marketing or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. You can absolutely send me a message at Ari Hurst on Instagram. It's probably the best way to reach me.
Very cool. And so, do you think LinkedIn's a huge help for people to get into the marketing field, like an
Oh,
avenue?
absolutely. I mean, I blasted people on LinkedIn when I was trying to get started. I, reached out and I would find a job posting that I would see and then I would be like, okay, who do I think I'd be reporting to? And then I would try to Google like that person on LinkedIn and I'd send them a message and just say, hey, like my name's Ari. I saw this position. Here's a little bit about me. Like, can we just talk? And a lot of times I would get a message back, and maybe, the conversation wouldn't lead to an interview, but it would at least get me one step closer, whether that would, give me better communication skills in the interview or learn more insight about the position or about the organization. So I'm definitely like a huge advocate of using LinkedIn, using your resources, using your network of people, whether those network of people be at your CrossFit gym or in your diabetes community or wherever. There's always something to learn from someone else.
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn like all the time, and it's some posts are like almost turning into Facebook, and I'm like kind of hating that. And so I'm like, that has nothing to do with business, like nothing. Like this is not helping us. You're gonna get likes and comments, but like what does that have to do with business?
Right.
It's just like I just sit there and I'm like, oh my gosh, and
Oh man.
especially being a medical recruiter, I see that stuff, and it's just like, and everyone like repeats the same stuff over and over and over again. I'm like,
Totally.
why? There's no need.
Why?
Put your 2 cents.
Save that for Facebook.
Yeah. Move it over there and just like kind of focus on that. But yeah. So well, thank you very much for doing this. I really do appreciate, taking the time to talk to me, especially with me had to push it back a half hour. So, but
no worries at all.
But yeah, so
thank you so much.
Yeah, and it's welcome, and it's awesome to meet another fellow diabetic too.
I know. We understand all of the highs and lows that we go through. And so thank you so much for speaking to me. This was great, and great learning more about your story at the beginning of the call.
Yeah, and especially it's pretty cool seeing a new diabetic, and it's almost like a diabetic in the wild. You get excited. You're like, oh, look.
I saw some girl at the nail salon the other day that I saw her pump cord, and I reached out to her, and we were chatting for quite some time about our diabetes. So love spotting another diabetic in the wild.
Yeah, I love talking to people. Some people just don't want to hear
my
it.
favorite.
Like, just leave it alone. And I'm just like, okay, see you later.
Yep, 100%.
Awesome. Well, thank you for doing this again, and have a good one.
All right, you too.